Julia Roberts, one of the most prominent and highest-paid actresses in Hollywood, has made her mark in her career with many iconic films. She earned up to $20 million per movie, which made her a major icon in the entertainment industry. However, her great successes have gradually declined in recent years. Her recent films have not achieved the success she had hoped for, and some could even be considered disasters compared to her own standard. Julia Roberts' career is no longer what it once was, and she was forced to transition to collaborating with Netflix just to maintain her work. This situation became even more challenging when she had to face a rare illness, a blood disorder, that has been affecting her since 2002. This condition could potentially take her life at any time, despite her being 56 years old. Hollywood clearly no longer knew what to do with Julia Roberts, as her golden era had come to an end. If you're curious about the life of Hollywood star Julia Roberts, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Don't forget to hit the like button, share the video, and comment your thoughts below. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exciting upcoming videos. Now let's get started with the story. Julia Roberts was born on October 28, 1967, in Smyrna, Georgia. However, her life story is far from ordinary, as she was born into a very special family. Her parents ran the Atlanta Actors and Writers Workshop, one of the first acting schools in the South, which welcomed both black and white students during the tense racial segregation period of the 1960s. During this period, her parents made a bold decision to admit Yolanda King, the daughter of Martin Luther King Jr., into their program. This decision angered many people in their community and neighborhood, and the family faced numerous threats. However, despite the challenges and dangers, they remained steadfast in doing what they believed was right. Julia's parents taught acting in an old church where they used the platform of art to fight against the rampant racial segregation surrounding them. At the time, Julia was too young to fully understand the significance of these actions, but there is no denying that the environment and family values shaped her worldview. When Julia was born at Crawford Long Hospital, her family was struggling with financial difficulties. The medical bills amounted to $1,286, a significant sum for a family in hardship at that time, and they couldn't afford to pay it. However, a miracle happened. Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King, one of the most famous couples in the civil rights movement, quietly walked in and paid the entire hospital bill for Julia's family. They did this as a gesture of gratitude for what Julia's parents had contributed to the community and to their daughter. This event was not revealed immediately. Julia Roberts did not share this story until she was 55 years old. It was an important part of her life that only much later, after she had become a major star, she had the opportunity to share with the public. The actions of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King were not merely acts of charity, but a tribute, a support for the pioneers in the fight against racial segregation. This act laid the foundation for Julia to view the world in a broader, more compassionate way. Since then, Julia Roberts has not only become an icon in the entertainment industry, but also a daughter of a family with a profound and far-reaching influence. The story of what her parents did, along with the help from influential figures like Martin Luther King Jr., has left an indelible mark on her life. It is the family environment and the values she absorbed from an early age that have helped Julia develop a resilient spirit and deep empathy, both in her work and personal life. Since then, despite being a Hollywood star with a dazzling career, Julia has always remembered the fundamental values her family instilled in her. The story of the help provided by Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King is not only a deep memory for Julia, but also a reminder of the power of love and the sacrifice made for others. In 2022, Julia Roberts shared a moving story about the special help her family received from Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. She revealed that on November 2, 1967, just a few months before Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, Coretta personally went to the hospital to pay the entire medical bill for Julia's family. Although this had never been made public before, it was a silent act of gratitude for what Julia's parents had done for the community. The connection between the legends of the civil rights movement and a future Hollywood star had existed for decades as an untold secret. This reflects the depth of the famous civil rights leader's character, as well as the humanistic values that Julia's family nurtured in her from a very young age. Julia's early years were far from easy. Her parents divorced in 1971 when she was still under 4 years old, a huge shock for a young child. Her mother believed the marriage ended because of the emotional cruelty from her father, while Julia's father claimed that her mother had given up on the lengthy family court battles. After the divorce, her mother quickly remarried a man named Michael Mose. He was unlike her father, with a fiery temper, and worked at a factory. He moved the family into cheaper homes, and sometimes they had to move again when financial conditions didn't allow them to stay long. Just months later, Julia, along with her brother Eric and sister Lisa, had to live in constant anxiety and caution, walking on eggshells when going to school. They always felt insecure and couldn't express their true emotions, which led Julia to become withdrawn and less communicative with her friends or teachers. Teachers noticed the change in Julia. She began to miss school frequently and showed signs of fear. She was no longer the cheerful and active girl she once was, and she even started stuttering. This condition persisted until she was 9 years old. However, despite the intervention of speech, therapy acting was the true turning point that helped her rediscover herself. Instead of relying solely on conventional therapeutic methods, acting gave Julia a new way to express her emotions. It allowed her to find her voice when she felt like she had lost the ability to speak in her real life. In 1978, a major tragedy struck Julia Roberts' family when her father Walter passed away from throat cancer. Julia was only 10 years old at the time, an age when she couldn't fully grasp the pain and devastation that such a terrible illness could bring. Her father had kept his illness a secret from her for a long time, partly because he didn't want her to face that pain, while their family was already dealing with so many hardships and challenges. He tried to protect Julia, shielding her from the harsh reality. However, the truth is that his illness progressed far too quickly and unexpectedly, leaving the whole family unprepared. When Walter passed away, Julia felt as though her entire world had collapsed. The father she had always seen as her only pillar of strength was now gone. The pain of this loss was overwhelming, leaving her unable to control her emotions. Julia stopped talking to people, couldn't sleep, and her grades began to slip. Losing her beloved father made Julia feel as if she had been left behind in a dark world with no way out. She not only faced a deep loss within her family, but also had to deal with the loneliness and pain that she couldn't share with anyone. During those difficult months, Walter, even as he faced the end of his life, never stopped caring for his daughter. Before he passed away, he prepared cassette tapes for Julia, recording the bedtime stories he used to tell her every night. It was a gift he left behind, a way for him to remain by her side, even if he could no longer be there in person. These tapes became cherished memories that Julia held on to for the rest of her life. Every night when she felt lonely and in pain, she would listen to her father's voice telling those familiar stories. The tapes gradually wore out over time, but their meaning never faded. However, even with those beautiful memories, Julia still couldn't overcome the immense loss. Losing her father was something she couldn't accept for a long time. The pain haunted her throughout her growing years. Even so, the cassette tapes Walter left behind became an essential part of her life, helping her through difficult times and giving her the strength to keep going. Her father's words were like a close friend, a guiding voice that gave her comfort and courage whenever she felt lost in life. Julia's loss was not only a profound shock in her life, but also a lesson in resilience and the strength to overcome grief. Though she was still very young, she learned how to face pain and confront the harsh truths of life without letting them defeat her. It was the memories of her father, the stories preserved on those cassette tapes, that helped her find peace within allowing her to keep moving forward on her path, even though the absence of her beloved father would forever remain a deep and unerasable sorrow. Her father's death left a gaping hole in Julia's soul, a wound she felt would never fully heal. In a way, acting became a way for Julia to confront that pain. It served as an outlet for her to express emotions she couldn't put into words in real life. As things at home worsened, her mother's marriage to Michael Mose also began to fall apart. Police were called to their house multiple times due to fights and domestic violence. Julia's siblings moved out as soon as they could, but she was the only one who remained enduring the hardship alone. Despite facing countless hardships, Julia found an escape through acting. It helped her cope with the pain and rise above the challenges life had thrown her way. The silence she felt, the loss of her beloved father, and the breakdown of her family didn't defeat her. Instead, she chose acting as a way to keep going, a way to rebuild her strength and continue searching for peace in a world full of turmoil. In 1976, Julia Roberts gained a half-sister named Nancy through her father. However, Nancy faced many struggles in life, particularly with substance abuse, and tragically took her own life in 2014. The pain within the family didn't end there. After years of enduring an abusive marriage with Michael Mose, Julia's mother finally decided to file for divorce in 1981, describing the relationship as violent. After the divorce, her mother focused on healing. She opened a new acting school and began volunteering at a women's shelter, dedicating herself to helping others find safety and hope. Despite all the hardships her mother had endured, she became a fierce protector and supporter of Julia, especially as Julia began dreaming of something bigger for her future. At the time, Julia was just 14 years old, and although her life was still marked by emotional scars, she was beginning to grow stronger. Her mother encouraged her to pursue her passion for the performing arts. Initially, Julia thought she would become a veterinarian since she loved animals and excelled in biology, but something always pulled her closer to the world of art. She played the clarinet, acted in school plays, and even fainted during a frog dissection just to land the lead role in a play that same day. She spent hours after school writing scripts in her science notebook, showing intense focus and passion for acting. Her former veterinarians recalled that Julia didn't come to the clinic to observe surgeries, but rather to learn about the people she might become actors, though at the time she hadn't even realized it herself. In 1985, right after graduating, Julia decided to pack her things and move to New York City. She had only $628 in her pocket and shared a small apartment with her sister Lisa. Life in New York was far from easy. It was cold, the heating system was broken, and sometimes they had to sleep in their coats. Julia couldn't afford subway fare, so she often walked miles to get to auditions. She ate cheap meals and attended auditions 3 or 4 times a day. Despite being rejected 200 times, Julia never gave up. Eventually, she landed her first commercial for Clearasil, earning $825. This income changed everything, allowing her to get her SAG card, the ticket that opened the door to real audition opportunity. As a child, Julia had a strange ritual she started when she was 7 years old. She would lock herself in the bathroom and practice giving acceptance speeches for the Oscars. Shampoo bottles and perfume bottles became her pretend trophies. She even recorded herself to study her pronunciation and wrote over 40 speeches in a leather-bound notebook. Even when her family lost power and had to use candles, Julia kept practicing. She once told her brother, "When I win an Oscar, I'll thank you for the 3rd time." The challenging and deprived early years shaped Julia Roberts into a resilient person determined to pursue her dreams. Despite facing numerous obstacles, she never gave up. Her perseverance, passion, and determination helped her succeed and become one of Hollywood's brightest stars. Julia's story is proof that staying true to your passion can overcome any hardship, and sometimes dreams that seem far-fetched can still come true. When Julia Roberts finally won in 2001, she kept the promise she made to herself as a young girl who always dreamed of one day winning an Oscar. Her path to success was far from easy, and the challenges she faced made that victory even sweeter. Julia's first acting job was on a television show called Crime Story in 1987. Even though she had the flu and a fever of 103 degrees, Julia didn't want to miss this one and only chance. With resilient spirit, she completed the scene in just 1 take, and everyone on set noticed that Julia had something special. However, success didn't come to her immediately. Despite showcasing her talent, she still had to face major challenges before reaching glory. The early years of Julia's career were far from easy. She constantly auditioned, but only landed a role in Firehouse. She even suffered burns from an accident during the film's special effects process. Despite these hardships, Julia never gave up. She worked tirelessly, sometimes putting in up to 16 hours a day. When life got tough, Julia had to sell the pocket watch her grandfather had given her to pay the rent. Despite being so poor, she never gave up, and after 3 years, when her career began to take off, she was able to buy back the watch for nearly 8 times the original selling price. This stands as a testament to her perseverance and unwavering spirit throughout her challenging career journey. In 1988, while filming Satisfaction, 19-year-old Julia met 35-year-old Liam Neeson. Their relationship didn't start off smoothly, but after some delays in filming, something shifted between them. They began dating and moved in together just 3 weeks later. However, this relationship wasn't well received in Hollywood. Julia lost a major commercial deal because of it, and was even rejected for a film role due to their relationship. However, Julia didn't mind. Liam Neeson broadened her mind with new ideas, encouraging her to read 27 books just like in college. These books helped her gain a deeper understanding of life and the world around her. Their relationship didn't last, but the breakup gave Julia emotional depth, which she channeled into her role in Magnolias. This role earned her her first Golden Globe and an Oscar nomination, marking a major milestone in her career. Despite achieving great success in her career, few know that behind the spotlight, Julia Roberts faced many pains and challenges. One of the toughest challenges came during the filming of Steel Magnolias, when she had to portray Shelby's diabetic seizure. To prepare for the scene, Julia stayed awake for 47 hours straight. This wasn't a dangerous stunt she chose on her own, but a suggestion from her co-star Sally Field, who helped her deliver the most authentic and powerful performance. Sally advised Julia to truly experience exhaustion to make the scene more convincing. Although this method was very effective, it completely drained Julia throughout the filming process, causing her to endure significant physical and mental challenges. The funeral scene for Shelby, one of the most emotional moments in the movie, added even more pressure on her. To truly feel the pain her character was experiencing, Julia decided to lock herself in her hotel room for 3 days, surviving only on salty crackers and water. She wanted to fully immerse herself in the character's emotions and truly live the suffering Shelby endured. While this approach helped her deliver the most authentic performance, it also took a great toll on her energy and well-being. Director Herbert Ross, who helmed Steel Magnolias, didn't make things easy for Julia either. On January 17, 1989, after a tense scene, he yelled at Julia, calling it the worst acting I've ever seen. This comment devastated Julia, making her feel as if all her efforts during filming had been thrown away. She left the set emotionally overwhelmed and was unable to return for the next 6 hours. The criticism not only hurt her emotionally, but also made her doubt her own abilities. However, Julia came back and gave her all to the role despite the harsh critiques and pressure from all sides. From these challenges, Julia Roberts learned many important lessons in both life and her career. She proved that perseverance, never giving up, and courage to face difficulties are the keys to success, not only professionally, but also personally. These hardships helped Julia grow stronger and more resilient, both as an actress and in her personal life. Her story is not just a journey to success, but also a powerful lesson about mental strength and the ability to overcome adversity. Although she was only part of the cast, Julia appeared on screen for just 38 minutes, which made her Oscar nomination even more surprising to everyone. The relentless challenges, from hundreds of rejections to harsh criticisms, could not bring her down. It was Julia's perseverance, passion, and unwavering dedication that helped her rise above all difficulties and become one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Julia Roberts' story is a powerful testament that sometimes the greatest successes in life come from the pain and challenges we face. She not only earned awards and fame, but also overcame immense personal hardships, from financial struggles and emotional losses to career obstacles, to become an icon in the entertainment industry. The challenges of her past forged her into the strong and resilient woman she is today. Julia's success is not just a result of talent, but also a testament to perseverance, the ability to overcome suffering, and never giving up on one's dreams. One of the most powerful moments in Julia Roberts' acting career was in Steel Magnolias, when she had to portray her character's emotional breakdown after a medical emergency. This scene was filmed in just one take, and Julia's tears were real. There was no preparation or staging involved. Later, Julia revealed that this moment wasn't acting, but a genuine expression of the grief she was experiencing in her own life. Although her career was rapidly advancing at the time, her personal life was full of upheaval. Around the same period, she became engaged to Dylan McDermott, whom she first met during the Steel Magnolias script reading on November 28, 1988. During that first meeting, Dylan wrote a heartfelt note saying, "You have the most beautiful eyes I've ever seen." These words were not just a compliment on her appearance, but reflected the instant connection they felt with each other. This bond quickly blossomed into a romantic relationship, and shortly after they became engaged. Although Julia's personal life faced significant challenges, her relationship with Dylan McDermott, though it didn't last, played an important role in her journey of growth and self-discovery. Just 19 days later, McDermott proposed to Julia in the Russian tea room in New York, giving her an emerald ring that once belonged to his grandmother. They moved into a small apartment in West Village, renting for $1,800 a month. Their neighbors saw an ordinary couple, Julia doing grocery shopping, while Dylan walked their three-legged rescue dog. If you find this story captivating, don't forget to like, share the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more exciting videos. Now let's continue the story together. But their relationship was much deeper than that. When Julia was almost dropped from Pretty Woman, Dylan personally called director Gary Marshall and convinced him to keep her in the project. However, fame came with a price. On March 12, 1990, just 2 weeks before the release of Pretty Woman, Julia called off their June wedding. A tabloid had paid their doorman $25,000 to get into their apartment, and that was the last straw. Julia realized she couldn't have both a normal life and fame. Ironically, Pretty Woman nearly didn't have Julia from the start. The role of Vivian was offered to 7 other actresses before Julia got the chance. First was Michelle Pfeiffer, who declined the role on February 7, 1989. Then Molly Ringwald also turned it down in March. Meg Ryan refused after reading the script. Daryl Hannah felt the role romanticized prostitution, while Jennifer Jason Leigh found no depth in the character. Valeria Golino was too busy, and Karen Allen didn't like the age gap between her and Richard Gere. Finally, on April 3rd, Julia auditioned, and director Gary Marshall noticed something special in her. He called it an innocent vulnerability, and although Richard Gere was initially uninterested, Marshall arranged for them to meet at Gere's apartment. There, Julia handed him a sticky note that read, "Say yes." That very moment changed everything. The chemistry between them was instant, convincing Gere to join the film. This pairing went on to become one of the most iconic on-screen couples of all time. Julia Roberts' story is not only a journey from an unknown actress to a legendary star, but also a story of perseverance, the struggle to protect her private life and relationships while facing the pressures of fame and the media. These challenges not only helped her mature, but also created one of the most memorable moments in her cinematic career. However, despite the massive success of Pretty Woman that catapulted Julia Roberts into stardom, she was not paid fairly for the level of fame the film brought. Roberts only received $300,000 for her role as Vivian, while Richard Gere earned $5 million, plus a share of the profits totaling around $12 million. The film premiered on March 23, 1990, grossing $11.3 million in its opening week, which was 37 times more than what Roberts was paid. With that success, the film ran in theaters for 16 weeks and grossed a total of $463.4 million worldwide. The red opera dress that Roberts wore in the film became a fashion phenomenon, generating knockoff sales of up to $30 million. The VHS tape of the film sold 2.8 million copies at nearly $90 each. The number of tourists visiting Rodeo Drive increased by 27%, but Roberts did not earn much from this success. The Disney executives, however, received significant bonuses, and she learned a valuable lesson from that. In 1993, Julia Roberts learned an important lesson from her career and decided to change how Hollywood viewed her salary. She demanded a fee of $10 million for her role in The Pelican Brief. By 2000, Julia became the first woman to earn $20 million for a single role in Erin Brockovich. This not only marked a turning point in her career, but also forever changed the salary standards in Hollywood. This success was not only a result of her outstanding acting talent, but also a testament to her determination and ability to set her own worth, making her one of the highest-paid stars in the film industry. However, despite Julia's career achieving brilliant success, her personal life was not always smooth. After breaking up with Dylan McDermott, Julia entered a new relationship with Kiefer Sutherland. They met while filming Flatliners in August 1990, and their relationship quickly blossomed. Within a short time, Kiefer proposed to Julia, and the two planned a lavish wedding for June 14, 1991. Julia chose an $8,000 dress and a pair of $425 Manolo Blahnik shoes for her wedding, turning the event into a Hollywood fairy tale. However, like many fairy tales, this happiness did not last. The relationship between Julia and Kiefer faced insurmountable difficulties. Despite meticulous wedding plans in May 1991, an event occurred that led Julia to call off everything. This incident became one of the most memorable and tragic moments in her life and career. She had to face a great emotional shock and eventually decided to withdraw from the marriage not only due to personal separation, but also because of the feeling of betrayal. Although her relationship with Kiefer did not last, the event highlighted that Julia, despite being a major star in the entertainment industry, still faced personal challenges just as difficult. However, Julia overcame these hardships, continued to thrive in her career, and later found happiness with her current partner, Danny Motter. Julia's story is not just about her glorious career, but also about a resilient woman who always rises after each fall in life. However, this fairy tale crumbled in May 1991. A 24-year-old stripper named Amanda Rice revealed that Kiefer Sutherland had left Julia and moved in with her at a hotel in London. Rice claimed that Sutherland had called Roberts an insecure ice princess. Later, Rice changed her story, stating that her relationship with Sutherland was only a platonic friendship, but the damage had already been done. Julia was hospitalized shortly afterward, reportedly due to the flu, but many wondered if it was really the flu or the result of overwhelming stress. She remained in the hospital for 5 days, still wearing her engagement ring. Despite everything, it seemed the wedding could still go ahead. However, this marked a major turning point in Julia's personal life. These events forced her to face the pressures of fame, complex relationships, and emotional pain. Julia Roberts' story is a testament to the fact that success does not always equate to a perfect life, and fame can bring not only joy but also constant challenges. Just 3 days before the wedding, Julia Roberts called off everything. Kiefer Sutherland didn't even hear a word from her. Someone else had to inform him when he moved out of their Beverly Hills home. Roberts had been staying with Jason Patrick, Sutherland's best friend. On the day they were supposed to get married, Julia flew to Ireland with Patrick, and the media exploded. She was branded as the runaway bride, an image she couldn't shake off for many years before she actually played the role of a bride on screen. Later, Julia shared that she had planned to end things amicably, but before she could do so, Sutherland called her and said hurtful words. Many years later, Sutherland stated that Julia had the courage to walk away, and he respected that decision. Just 2 years after the public scandal, Julia married again, this time to country singer Lyle Love. This marriage shocked many as it was short-lived, lasting only from 1993 to 1995. Roberts felt as though she was reacting to everything that had happened before. She transitioned from running away from one wedding to rushing into another. However, in 2002, Julia found something truly lasting. She married cinematographer Danny Moder, and they have been together for over 20 years, with 3 children twins, Hazel and Phineas, born in 2004, and Henry, born in 2007. After all the tragedies, heartbreaks, and public chaos, Julia finally found peace in her life, something she had never experienced as the most famous woman in the world. Meanwhile, the 1994 film I Love Trouble, although intended to be a light romantic comedy, became a behind-the-scenes disaster. The main reason was the tense relationship between Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte. Their relationship was not just the usual tension, but truly a full-scale war from the moment they met. Things went south from the start, and they not only argued, but also avoided each other. They even had to shoot most of the scenes with stunt doubles. Julia admitted in an interview with the New York Times that they truly irritated each other. She even went on to say something that shocked many people. Nolte can be charming, but he's also completely disgusting. She further mentioned that Nolte did everything he could to push people away, which she found brutal. Nolte fired back in an interview with the Los Angeles Times, saying that while it's not nice to call someone disgusting, he believed Julia was not a good person. Everyone knew the film was a failure, critics didn't care for it, and audiences weren't particularly interested. Julia Roberts' story, from her dazzling successes to the ups and downs of her personal life and career, shows that fame doesn't always bring happiness. Her career had to endure many hardships and challenges, but in the end, she found true peace and happiness with her family. Despite facing conflicts and setbacks in her career, Julia Roberts didn't let those hold her back. In 1997, she made a grand comeback with My Best Friend's Wedding. The film wasn't just a hit, it became a blockbuster. My Best Friend's Wedding opened with over $21 million in its first week and grossed nearly $300 million worldwide, with a production budget of just $38 million. Her character in the film wasn't the typical groundbreaking role, but audiences loved the difference. The film received a 73% positive rating on Rotten Tomatoes and became one of the top 10 highest-grossing films of the year, reaffirming that Julia was still a major star on the big screen. Everyone knew that Julia Roberts was still a major star by the late 90s. Particularly in 1999, she not only proved her talent once again, but also completely dominated the screen. In May of that year, she starred in Notting Hill alongside Hugh Grant. The film grossed $364 million worldwide and became the highest-grossing British film of all time. Just 10 weeks later, Julia reunited with Richard Gere in Runaway Bride. The film opened with $35 million, making it one of the highest-grossing romantic comedies on opening weekend. It grossed over $39 million globally. While critics weren't too impressed with Runaway Bride, the audience didn't care. They loved seeing Julia and Richard Gere reunite on the big screen. That same year, Julia Roberts made history with Erin Brockovich. She became the first woman in Hollywood to receive $20 million for a single film. Prior to that, Only major male stars like Tom Cruise and Mel Gibson had earned such a salary, but Julia not only secured this massive paycheck, she also chose a challenging and daring role. She portrayed a single mother who helped take down a massive energy company. This was a bold move, stepping away from the romantic comedies she had been associated with in previous years. And the gamble paid off. Erin Brockovich grossed over $200 million worldwide and completely transformed her career. Her performance in Erin Brockovich not only earned Julia a huge salary, but also allowed her to reaffirm her place in the hearts of both the public and critics. This role demonstrated the diversity of her acting abilities as she stepped out of the romantic comedy mold to portray a strong, determined, and resilient character. The success of Erin Brockovich changed everything, elevating Julia Roberts from just a movie star to an icon in the entertainment industry. After winning the Oscar for Best Actress for her role in Erin Brockovich, Julia Roberts continued to solidify herself as one of Hollywood's biggest stars. This was her third Oscar nomination, and this time she took home the gold after years of relentless dedication. Along with the Oscar, Julia also won a Golden Globe, a BAFTA award, and a Screen Actors Guild award, creating a streak of remarkable victories in her acting career. In her Oscar acceptance speech, she humorously mentioned that she would take time to savor the moment on stage, and indeed she deserved every bit of that applause. She not only brought home a personal award, but also proved that her career had reached its pinnacle after many years of hard work and perseverance. Julia's success didn't just come from winning awards. By 2001, her films had grossed over $3.9 billion worldwide. What's remarkable is that she didn't need to be part of superhero films or big franchises to achieve this success. In fact, aside from the Ocean's 11 series, she completely avoided long-running franchises and instead continued to choose independent film projects, proving that she could thrive even in films that weren't sequels to famous franchises. This shows that Julia is not only a movie star, but also someone with smart career choices. In July 2002, Julia Roberts married cinematographer Danny Moder when she was 35 years old. They had met while working on The Mexican, and their relationship quickly developed into love. At the time, Julia had just won the Oscar for her role in Erin Brockovich and was at the peak of her career. However, just a few weeks after their wedding, she began to feel that something was wrong with her health. She felt constantly fatigued with unexplained dark bruises appearing on her skin. Danny Moder, noticing the noticeable changes in his wife's health, advised her to see a doctor. When the tests were conducted, the results left Julia stunned. Doctors diagnosed her with a rare blood disorder called idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura (ITP). This is a rare blood condition affecting only about 3.3 adults per 100,000 people. ITP reduces the number of platelets in the blood, meaning the blood cannot clot normally, which poses a risk of severe bleeding. This condition not only threatened Julia's health, but also affected every aspect of her life, from her career to her personal relationships. With courage and determination, Julia did not let this rare illness bring her down. She continued to face the condition head-on, taking care of her health while maintaining her acting career. Despite the challenges to her health, Julia kept participating in major film projects, proving that she was not just a famous star, but also a strong and resilient woman. As Julia's career continued to rise, she also found peace in her personal life. She and Danny Moder have been together for over 20 years and have 3 children, twins, Hazel and Phineas, born in 2004 and Henry, born in 2007. After all the tragedies and challenges in her public life and career, Julia finally found true happiness with her family. Her enduring relationship with Danny helped her overcome many obstacles and regain balance in her life. Julia Roberts has faced many challenges in both her career and personal life. However, she has always stood strong in the face of adversity, proving that she is not just a movie star, but also a strong, resilient, and admirable woman. She has overcome the storms in her career, and life found true happiness, and become a role model for those facing difficulties in their own lives. When Julia Roberts was diagnosed with idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura ITP, it was not only a shock, but also a devastating blow for her. At the time, her greatest dream was to become a mother, but this diagnosis made her uncertain about her future. The feeling of helplessness regarding her health was something she had never imagined. However, she didn't give up and continued to face this challenge with strength. 2 years after the diagnosis, Julia gave birth to twins, Hazel and Phineas, followed by her son Henry in 2007. Despite battling a life-threatening illness, Julia became the mother of 3 children, and she refused to let her health condition define her life. In fact, it was her husband, Danny Moder, who may have saved her life. He was the first to notice her symptoms, including bruising and unexplained fatigue. At first, Julia thought it was just due to stress and normal exhaustion. However, Danny urged her to see a doctor, and when tests were conducted, the doctor revealed that Julia's platelet count had dropped below the normal range, 150,000 to 450,000 per microliter of blood. Without treatment, she could have faced the risk of severe bleeding, even bleeding in the brain, which could have been life-threatening. This illness was incredibly difficult for Julia. Her immune system began attacking her own blood platelets, treating them as enemies. The exact cause remains unclear, possibly stress, perhaps genetic factors, but at this point, she could feel that her life was being scrutinized more than ever: her marriage, her fame, and her health. Everything was under pressure. Her body, which had always been a reliable support throughout her career, betrayed her as she had to live with fear every day. Even a small cut could become dangerous, and internal bleeding could occur without any warning signs. This made Julia constantly cautious with every step she took in her daily life. Doctors continuously monitored Julia's condition, especially when her platelet count dropped to just 20,000, a dangerously low level. Any lower, and even a minor fall or bump, could result in life-threatening bleeding. To fight the disease, Julia began a long list of treatments. First came steroids like prednisone. These help increase platelet counts but come with serious side effects such as weight gain, mood swings, and swelling. Being the center of attention was extremely difficult for Julia, especially when her symptoms couldn't be hidden. When the initial treatments weren't enough, she added IVIG, intravenous immunoglobulin therapy, a time-consuming procedure that had to be scheduled around her filming commitments. Each session lasted several hours and frequently disrupted Julia's work. Still, she didn't give up. Every day she faced the challenges of both her career and personal life with unwavering resilience. Julia Roberts is not only a shining star in Hollywood, but also a remarkably resilient woman facing personal and health challenges that few people know about. After being diagnosed with idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura ITP, Julia continued her fight against the serious disease with expensive treatments like romiplastim and L-trombopag, which help her body produce more platelets. In the worst moments, she had to rely on rituximab, a powerful drug that targets and eliminates harmful immune cells. However, none of these treatments come cheap, with annual costs reaching over $150,000. Despite battling this illness, Julia has continued to work, making appearances at film premieres and award shows. Behind the spotlight, Julia is both a mother and a patient fighting a relentless illness. She kept her battle private, not seeking sympathy from others. She simply wanted to live her life. People know Julia as a famous star, but few are aware of the struggles and pain she has endured. She concealed the bruises caused by the disease with makeup and scheduled photo shoots around flare-ups. Even her closest colleagues were unaware of what she was going through. Julia never wanted to be the center of pity. She just wanted to keep living and working like a normal person despite the hardships life had thrown her way. Julia's private life, however, wasn't always entirely her own. In the early 1990s, a custody battle tore her family apart. Her brother actor Eric Roberts was fighting for custody of his daughter Emma, but Julia did not support him. Instead, she sided with Eric's ex-girlfriend Kelly Cunningham, offering financial help and paying for legal fees so that Kelly could gain custody. This decision deeply angered Eric, and he and Julia didn't speak for over a decade. Later, Eric admitted that at the time he was in a dark place, struggling with addiction, anger, and being unreliable. Losing custody was the price Eric had to pay for the choices he made. When Julia gave birth to twins, Hazel and Phineas, in 2004, Eric visited her in the hospital, a gesture that marked the beginning of their reconciliation after more than a decade of estrangement. Julia and Kelly Cunningham, though not friends before the custody battle, formed an unexpected bond through the painful events they endured. Julia had barely known Kelly before offering her support, but amid all the chaos, she saw the child Emma. In time, Emma followed in the family's footsteps and became an actress herself, and Julia took on the role of not just an aunt, but a quiet mentor, helping guide Emma in her career. While Eric continued to struggle with addiction, Julia became a source of support, always ready to help her family, even as the pain lingered. The difficult years did not pass easily for Julia, but she learned how to survive, to persevere, and to rediscover happiness within her family. The story of Julia Roberts is not just one of dazzling success in her career, but also one of resilience and the quiet strength of a woman with a powerful heart, always ready to stand firm in the face of any challenge. Julia Roberts, despite enduring countless challenges and personal tragedies throughout her life and career, has consistently shown remarkable strength and resilience. In 2013, her half-sister Nancy Moats invited her to attend her wedding, but Julia declined. The relationship between them had long been strained, especially after Julia accused Nancy of secretly taking photos of her children. The deep wounds from that incident left Julia feeling betrayed and caused lasting pain for Nancy, who had struggled for years with issues related to her weight and self-esteem. Even so, Julia could never have imagined that refusing to attend her sister's wedding would lead to such a heartbreaking tragedy. In February 2014, Nancy was found dead in a bathtub at the age of 37. Doctors ruled it a suicide. She left behind several letters addressed to family members, but the family chose not to make them public. Nancy's passing deeply affected Julia. Despite having just received an Oscar nomination, she canceled all major appearances and stayed home to grieve. That moment, filled with pain and loss, continues to haunt Julia and the Roberts family to this day. The sorrow was not only a profound shock for Julia, but also a painful reminder of a relationship that had never fully healed. She was forced to confront the loss of not just a loved one, but of unresolved hurt that would never have the chance for closure. While Julia faced this personal sorrow, her career also encountered a significant shift. Although she remained a major star in 2016, her film Money Monster grossed only $93 million worldwide, a modest figure compared to her previous hits. Movies like Larry Crowne and Mirror Mirror also received lukewarm responses from audiences, diminishing Julia's once strong box office appeal. The golden era, when she commanded $20 million per film, seemed to have passed. In 2011, a L'Oreal commercial featuring Julia was banned in the UK due to excessive photo retouching. Lawmakers criticized the ad for presenting an unrealistic image, and Julia, celebrated for her natural beauty, found herself part of the debate around unrealistic beauty standards in the advertising industry. Amid the changing landscape of cinemas and a decline in major film roles, Julia decided to shift the direction of her career. In 2023, she starred in Leave the World Behind, a horror film released on Netflix. She collaborated with stars like Mahershala Ali and Ethan Hawke. The streaming service paid Julia $25 million a peak salary, comparable to her previous film earnings. What's remarkable is that she no longer has to worry about box office returns, as the film is streamed to millions of viewers at home, removing the traditional pressure of theatrical performance. This marked a major turning point in Julia's career, and it has been richly rewarded. Despite her successful comeback with Leave the World Behind, Julia still cannot fully escape the shadows of her past and the relentless efforts in her career. Her most recent Oscar nomination was in 2014 for her role in August Osage County, where she played an emotionally charged and angry daughter confronting a difficult mother. Although she didn't win, that performance reminded the public of her outstanding acting talent. However, since then, major awards have eluded her. Compared to contemporaries like Cate Blanchett or Sandra Bullock, Julia has yet to find a breakthrough role that could bring her back to the forefront with a hit film. Many wonder whether she is waiting for the right script, or if Hollywood simply doesn't know how to handle actresses in their 50s. Nonetheless, Julia Roberts remains one of Hollywood's greatest stars. She has delivered unforgettable performances and demonstrated resilience and inner strength in the face of life's challenges. From major triumphs to setbacks in both her career and personal life, Julia has proven that fame and success are not just about the spotlight, but also about the ability to overcome hardship, sorrow, and life's trials. If you found this story interesting, don't forget to hit like and share the video with your friends and everyone around you so they can learn about it too. Leave a comment down below to let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any other exciting videos. Thank you for watching the entire video, and see you in the next ones.